Yeah, I want to follow up a little bit on our timing model that we discussed at the last class. So all asset classes have a model and they have a timing cycle to them. Those are starting to complete. So let's talk about the things that in my model we talked about last class that there are several things that needed to happen before we got the waterfall event and the prices to decline and go to buy point one for our timing model. Now, one of the things that we talked about was, of course, was interest rates. Now, there's a couple of different interest rates. The first interest rates is the U.S. Treasury interest rates, typically run by the 10-year. That 10-year ended in November of 2020 when it got down to about 0.65%, and now it's at 4.5%. So yes, you'll get your $10,000, but you might have paid $15,000 for a $10,000 bond in order to get that because of the fact that it was so low. So now what we're seeing is that this is what happened to Signature Bank. They had a bunch of 10-year treasuries that they had bought in 2018 and 2019 and 2020 that were less than 1%. Interest rates spiked. And of course, the bond portfolio dropped like a rock. So the value of that portfolio lost 50%. That's what happens with TLT, which is basically around a 20-year treasury, about a 20-year treasury, give or take. It's a mix of treasuries. Yes, the credit worthiness, they'll continue paying the interest that's suggested by the bonds that are within it, but it went from 190 down to about 89. And so that's the value of the bonds within that ETF that lost all that value. So that cycle ended. Again, if you'd been buying it in 26, 7, 8, if you had bought it in 2008 and 9, when interest rates were still fairly up, but when you buy at the end of the cycle, it's timing. It's just timing. When you buy at the very top, there are consequences, and those consequences are generally very, very bad. Now, we also talk about the fact that silver. I know when I asked who bought silver, we had a lot of people raise their hands and say they bought silver. They bought it like 80, 90, $100. And of course, when I get up to 101, it popped. And it came down like a rocket. And it's down to like, was it around 50, $60? Still pretty good for silver, but not if you'd bought it at $80. So a lot of people are taking losses. Same with gold. We can see gold it's flirting with breaking the 4,000. So a lot of people bought gold when it was 4,500 and above. And of course, now it's down to 4,000. So timing on purchasing these things is very, very important. And there's tells as we go along as to where we are in this timing model. So first thing to go is interest rates. And of course, that's the 10-year. The 10-year right now is right around 4.5%. Now, it could go very much higher, and it puts the brakes on the economy when you do that. Now, liquidity is still very, very high. We watch liquidity. Liquidity is just unbelievable. And that's because we have a war going on. So last 2 cycle completions, 3 cycle completions, we did not have a war going on. So we have a lot of scared capital coming from the Mideast, from Northern Europe or Europe itself. And of course, from the Middle East, or not, we have Middle East, we've got the Far East, Korea, Taiwan, Japan. They're very, very concerned, the Taiwanese problem. And the same with North Korea rattling its sabers. So those people are sending their money to the most liquid markets in the world, which is the stock market. Now, why is that important? Because my model shows that the stock market and the real estate fall together, and it's preceded by the real estate. And we can see in our models that real estate is falling. Now, I've got some slides here. It's not going to be a long video. We'll talk about that. But real estate is falling. We're seeing that credit, not necessarily long bonds, which is in the reserves for a lot of the banks, but we're talking about the credit defaults that are going on all across in like trillions of dollars. We've talked about those in our classes. I won't go through them, but the banks were prohibited in the new laws to do risky loans. So what did they do? They went out and created other entities, and they lent the money to those entities like a normal transaction. And those entities lent a high yield and risky loans out to clients, and their clients are defaulting in droves to the tune of several $1 trillion. Now, you take several $1 trillion in defaults, and they're coming to rest. That's what we're looking at. We're seeing a credit problem and that's going to develop, and that's right in our timing model. And it's telling us that we're getting towards that completion. Now, what else is needed for that completion? Employment. Now, as you know, I consulted with with a consultant, and he was a global consultant, and he told me that his company was laying off tens of thousands of people in his company. And he further said the companies that they consult with are laying off maybe hundreds of thousands of IT workers, software engineers, anyone developers, anyone connected to the internet and software development that can be done by AI. They're going to be laid off. So these were very, very good jobs. People making 150 to 250 to $350,000 lose your job. Well, you quit spending, and of course, it scares you. Even if you're not losing your job, you have a tendency of quit buying and spending. So that's part of our model for completion. So we've got another peg on the board saying that, hey, this is happening, and we're seeing employment start to slow down. What else is going? Well, we're seeing the fact that stocks are having problems. I consulted with another client. He was working for a Fortune 500 company for 25 years. Most of his retirement was in with the company because the company was the gorilla in their space. Fortune 500 company. Fortune 500 ETF has done very well. The S&P 500 has done very, very well. And of course, it's being driven by just a few companies in the AI space, just like the Magnificent Seven were driving it. Now, his company is in the S&P 500, a big company. It is the number one in their space. But his portfolio was with the company, and it was $66, and it dropped to $22 in the last 8 months. Now, that's another tell. We're telling us that the stock market underneath, not just the leaders, but the rest of the stocks, remember, it's a market of stocks, not just the market of a few. They're having problems. So I'm thinking that we're going to come together. So let's just go through, and we're going to talk about housing. So let me go to my very first slide. Let's just talk about what we have and where we are with this. Now, here's the thing that sparked this morning is I got the July 2026 listing prices. They were down 25% since April. That is a stunning drop. This is maybe part of the waterfall. Again, 1 month trend does not make 1 month does not make a trend, but it certainly bears watching. So let me go. So here's the reason for it. We've discussed this ad infinitum. We have the worst housing affordability since the great financial crisis. It might even be worse. And of course, you can see here in 2005, it just started getting more and more unaffordable. It got down here to the bottom in late 2006, 2007. No one could afford a house, and sales just dropped. And then the market broke, and all of a sudden, affordability was restored, and virtually everybody in the United States could afford a house. Now, what happens now? Well, we've got affordability where no one can afford a house. So what do you expect? The sales are at the lowest since the great financial crisis, and that's because no one can afford a house. Plus, we've got a lot of fear in the marketplaces. So look at this. Now, here's what I'm talking about. Now, at the last class, I talked about the fact that Zillow had sent this out, and the month, so I had March was $405,000 for the median sales price. I said, wow, that's pretty good. And then in April, it went up for the first increase in 4 years. I said, wow. Now, again, 1 month does not make a trend, but it's certainly in the right direction. But this morning, so remember, this is April. So they're 2-3 months behind, and that just has to do with collating all this stuff. Remember, they're a national company. Here we are. I got this from Equity Title this morning, and that same company, 405 median sales price. Well, look at the median list price is only 388, so it's dropped. What was it last month? It was 438, and it dropped to 388, $50,000. So is that part of the waterfall? Again, I'm not sure, but it would be indicative of that, because now the median list price, if it's at 388, the median sales price is not going to be more, it will be less. So the median sales price probably going to be less than this, 380, 375, 370, and that's coming. So I'm thinking, well, okay, maybe it's just surprise. But wait a second. I checked Fountain Hills, and we use Fountain Hills because it's not like the top of the market. We're like using Paradise Valley or Scottsdale, but Fountain Hills is a pretty nice affluent community. It's beautiful. Their median list price again in April of 2026, $1.3 million. There it is, April 5th, $1.3 million. And right here, I just got this morning. This is July 13th. This is came in at $996,000. So almost a 23% drop. So it's dropped over $300,000 in median list price since April. And of course, this will become median sales price. Again, that's going to drop down to less than 996. You know, it's going to come down. And again, that is very indicative of what I'm looking for in a we use this model for predictions. That's why we use this. We use it for predictions. You know, we want to know, we don't want to buy at the top. You know, because when you buy at the top, they call it the top for one reason, because it's the top. It's not going up any higher. So then it starts coming down. And if you bought anywhere near the top, you know, a year or two before the top, at the top, you are going to get hurt. So timing is very, very, very important to us. And our model is predictive. It's telling the same thing. We talked about the bond market. We saw the bond market complete. We saw the gold market. It starts spiking up just like it did in the real estate. You saw that in 21, 2022. We saw that in the silver. You saw that in oil. And we're seeing it in software and in chips. And these are mania. These are indications of mania, and they should come down. And of course, that's predicting the fact that it will come down. Part of the model telling us that we are probably approaching Buypoint 1. Once we get there, we're going to know exactly where we are. But that's what I'm looking for. Problem with that, though, is that it typically goes with the stock market. I can see the stock market is wobbling, but we have a lot of scared capital coming into the United States, and that can go on for a very, very long time. Let me go to my next slides, and let's just finish this up so we can all go home. Now, again, this is from Lennar. I got some more information on Lennar, but Lennar is 24%, went back to 2017 pricing. You know, when we did the cap rate valuations, I know I scared a lot of you, because the cap rate showed that it could go back to 2018 pricing pretty easily. That $400,000 house could become like a 285 house, or maybe a little bit less, depending on what the valuations work out to be on the cap rates. So if the cap rates go up, prices of properties have to come down. So this is very, very indicative. These models are confirming each other, which is just part of the process. That's why this is a predictive model, helps us make decisions. So we're very pleased with that. Let me go to my next slide, and let's just finish this up. Now, again, I think we're here. We've come down. I'm going to say about 50% of the risk has been removed. I think we have another 50%, maybe 60% yet to go. I think we can come down here, but I think we can go back to 2017, 2018 prices. Now, I'm going to tell you, here we are, July 16th, this Thursday. We're going to have a class in Scottsdale, and it's going to be on how to serve your client and how to sell in a conference room, because they're going to be coming in to see you for a reason. And the idea, of course, is to listen, find out what their problem is, and make sure that we're a good fit for them, they're a good fit for us, and then we can go ahead and solve the problem, because they are there for a problem. Now, we are the only problem solvers in the entire market. No one else does this. So listen to them. We're going to talk about class. We're going to talk about how to capture their business, how to project our trust and our worthiness and our competence to them, and capture that business. So you know where I'm at. So give me a call if you need me. My very best to you guys. Bye-bye now.